Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. On today's video we'll be making this beautiful gorgeous bias dress. I'll be using 2 yards of Ankara fabric to make this beautiful dress, and I'm going to cut it front and back separately. Okay, and also we'll be using 1 inch of bias, velvet bias, and our zip. So those are the things we'll be using for this dress: 2 yards of Ankara fabric, 1 inch of velvet bias, and a zipper for the dress. So we'll keep the zip and the bias and we'll work on the back piece before we work on the front piece. Fold your fabric into two, then if you want to cut the front and back together you fold it into four, but because of the zip will be attaching to the front, I'll be adding 1 inch to the front. So the purpose for adding 1 inch is for the turning of the neckline, which is half an inch on both sides, and stitching of the front. You remember the zip is going to join the front together, so that's the purpose for the 1 inch. So I'm going ahead and I cut out the edges of the fabric. After cutting out the edges, we'll go ahead and insert our measurement. Okay, so our horizontal and vertical lines, also the sleeve. So for the sleeve of this dress we are using kimono sleeve. Is a cut together sleeve. So what you have to do is mark your 8 inches. If you are adding sleeve, your normal sleeve, mark 8 inches, come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope, then join it to your armhole depth. Okay, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to use the length of the fabric, so the wideness of my fabric is what I'll be using. So I'm just going to drag it so that you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So when you get to the part you want to use as your sleeve length, you're going to come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope. Okay, so if you're attaching your normal sleeve you do it on the 8 inches line, but if you are not, you do it on the mark, that the part that you mark. Then when you are done you come down. So I came down by 11 inches. It all depends on you. You can use 11, you can use 12, you can use 10, you can use 13. Okay, so it all depends on how wide you want the armhole area to be. So connect it with a straight ruler and insert your neckline. So for the neck I used to 3 inches for the wideness, 2 inches for the depth. Then I connected the lines. After connecting the lines, it's time to mark your measurement. So this neckline is just for the back. Okay, so I connected the shoulder to the neckline first before I started inserting my body measurement. So what you do now is you are going to now mark your bust, your waist, and your hip. So for the bust I'm using 12 inches, that is shoulder to your nipple measurement. So shoulder to the nipple measurement I'm using is 12 inches. So I went ahead and I marked 12 inches. After marking 12 inches I marked 17 inches for the waist. Then I also marked the hip, which is 9 inches for the hip. But because of my client hip area, I used three I marked 3 lines for it. Okay, so I marked 9, I marked 10, and I also mark 14. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing that is so that when I am attaching the hip measurement, I'm going to do it, it's going to be like a slope because of how her hip is. Okay, so you go ahead and you mark it all the way down to your gown length. So after marking it, we'll insert body measurement. First thing you are going to do is to mark your bust. So you divide your bust by 4 plus 1.5 inch, because the dress is fitted, not a Bubu dress. So after you've gotten that, you will now mark that 1.5 inch and your bust measurement. So if you have 10 for bust, you end up marking 11.5 for your bust measurement. Then when you are done, you connect that bust area to the armhole area that you have. So you can use your curve ruler or you do it free, and okay, so it all depends on how you want to do yours. So I'm just going to connect it just like connecting your normal Bubu sleeve. So I'll connect it, then we'll go over to the waist area. On the waist, you are going to mark your waist measurement. So whatever you have on your waist, you add 1.5 inch. So if you have 8, you end up adding 1.5, which is going to now make it to be 9.5 inches. Okay, so you mark the 9.5 inches. After marking it, you connect it to the bust area, but you can also wait and mark all the other parts before you connect it. Okay, so after you are done, you go over to the hip, you mark your hip measurement. When you are done marking your hip, you go over to the gown length area and you mark. So what I mark was on the gown length area, I ended up marking, instead of the hip measurement that I use, I minus 1 inch from it. So let's say your hip measurement is 14, you have to minus 1 inch to make it 13. When you are done inserting it, connect it with your ruler, then cut out the back neckline. We'll be using this to cut at the front. After cutting out the back neckline, I'm going to take the back piece and place it on the front piece. So you give your 1 inch sewing allowance. So that 1 inch or half an inch sewing allowance is going to be for both sides for the turning of the front area. Remember, the front is a V neck. So what you are going to do now is you are going to now mark all the relevant parts, or go ahead and cut out the sides. After cutting out the sides, we'll cut the front neckline. So I'm just going to cut out the sides, then when I'm done, we'll cut out the front neckline. So I'm done cutting out the sides. I'm going to now take the back pattern and keep it outside and work on the front. So for the front, remember I said I used 2 inches for the back for the depth, and the wideness was 3 inches. So I had to just mark it for reference purpose, and the depth of the front now will be 9 inches. So you come down by 9 inches and connect it to that 3 inches that you have for your neckline. So after connecting it, you are now going to open it up, but because I put half an inch, I'm trying to know where and where I inserted, so I'm just going to mark it. So it all depends on you. If you put half an inch, 1 inch, or 2 inch for that sewing allowance, you are going to go up. Okay, you are going to mark it so that you'll be able to know which side you'll be attaching the interfacing for the front to. I had to take my back pattern and use it for the reference for the front. Okay, so you mark whatever you have on the front, let it be equal to the back, but the only difference is the sewing allowance that you'll be attaching for the front opening. Okay, so you can just use half an inch and also leave the other half an inch for ease on the front area. Okay, so I went ahead and I marked it, then connected the v-neck area and I open it up. So after opening it up, you are going to cut your interfacing. Take a piece of your fabric and place it under the front. Remember, the front is v-neck. Because of the color of the fabric, you won't be able to see it very clearly, but don't worry, you will get to understand it later. So just cut it out. We are cutting out the interfacing for the front. You are going to do the same thing for the back. You cut the interfacing of the back also. So just cut a piece of fabric and place the back fabric underneath it. So this is the front and this is the interfacing. Can you see it with the v-neck line? Can you see it? So you use the interfacing to turn it all the way down to the hem-line, from the shoulder all the way down to the hem-line. So you do the same thing on both sides. Turn it and you are going to top stitch on it. Okay, so let's keep the front and work on the back neckline. So for the back, same way we cut the front, place a piece of fabric underneath and you trace it out and cut out the neckline, and use that piece of fabric that you cut for your back interfacing and use it to turn out the back. So I'm going to do that and show you how it looks when I'm done. After turning it, this is how it's going to be. So this is the back and this is the front. Can you see it? So you are going to turn it, then you are going to iron it up. That is going to be for the front. So the front will be very very neat. So after turning it, this is how it's going to be. So I'm going to iron it up, then show you how it looks before we start working on the front piece. This is the front after ironing, and this is the bias. So it's time to attach the bias, and you can mark the part, but right now it's not necessary to mark, but don't mind me. I went ahead and I marked it and I realized it was not necessary to mark it. Okay, so as a beginner you can just mark and pinpoint that part because that is where the zip is going to be. But first of all, instead of marking it now, you can mark it later after attaching the bias. So this is the bias, the 1 inch, and I went ahead and I stitched on it on both sides of the bias. Okay, so you attach it to the one side of your dress and stitch on both sides, then we add our zipper. So I'm going to stitch both sides on the dress and I'm going to show you how it looks when I'm done. So this is it after stitching, and this is how it's going to be. So you are going to take your zipper. Can you see what I'm doing? So this is how the front neckline is going to be. Just place the front one side on top of the zipper, then stitch. So the part that I was marking earlier, this is the time for you to do it on your dress. So just mark it. You can mark 9 inches, you can mark 8 inches, you can mark 10, you can even make it 12. So when I am done marking it, I'm going to attach the zipper to the dress. So you just place the zipper underneath one side and stitch it straight down. Then you do the same thing for the other side. Put it on the other side and stitch it straight down. So after stitching, I'm going to show you how it looks when I'm done. This is it after attaching the zipper. It's time to join the shoulders and the sides together. So you are going to take your front and your back, and you'll be using the back interfacing to turn the shoulder. Okay, so you join it this way and you stitch all the way to the end, and on the sleeve you are just going to hem it, then hem the bottom. This is how it looks when I'm done stitching. Thank you so much guys, thank you for watching today's tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Bye guys.